Hello, I'm Randy Char, owner and broker of Char Luxury Real Estate, and today we're very excited to bring the December 2020 update and the year in review.
Happy New Year, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. So today I have Randy, my broker here. And Randy, today you're wearing a casual attire.
Yeah, sorry folks, a little casual. I'm in the process of moving and I couldn't find all my bow ties. They're locked up somewhere in storage shed. So you have to go with casual Randy today.
I like it, I like it. So we're gonna dive into our December 2020 numbers first. So first of all, looking at the Las Vegas market, we had 3,314 units sold. Percentage difference from last year was 26.9%. Median price, $345,000. And also a percentage increase from last year, 10.1%. What do you think about those numbers, Randy?
Well, it's not too surprising. I mean, year over year, or I'm sorry, month over month from last year, November 2020 versus December, it's still part of the same trend. In fact, actually I have it right here. Last time when we spoke about in November, we had 2,939 units against our 3,314 and over 1,090,000 against our 110. So percentage-wise, we were up 26.9 in December, 26.1 in November, and 116% in December of 2020 against 95.6% in November 2020. So the trend is continuing where the high-end market is continuing to have a lot of traction. Supply is shrinking, demand is going up, and it's reflecting in the pricing and the units sold.
Absolutely. So in the luxury market, like you mentioned, 119 homes were sold last month in December, up 116.36%. And then the median price is now $1.57 million, which is 15.61% increase. Can you talk about that number, 1.57?
Yeah, what's interesting here is the luxury market over $1 million is appreciating now at a higher rate than the average market, which is almost like a fulcrum point. Normally in markets, you'll see the starter homes, then the move up, the first move up, second move up, and then luxury. It will follow progression, and that's exactly what's happening here. Is that finally, we're seeing that the luxury market is exploding. In November of 2020, we were up 6.4% for a median price of 1.5. So in 1 month, the median price has jumped $70,000 in the over $1 million category.
Absolutely, that's very impressive. And then moving on to the year-end review. So the general market, we had a total of 31,642 units sold, a percentage increase of 0.5% compared to last year. Median price was $330,500, also another increase of 8.5%. Talk to us about that, Randy.
Yeah, no huge surprise here. What's neat is that the units sold at 31,642 is within 200 units of 2019. So basically what happened was we were down quite a bit during the COVID periods of, let's say, March through June and July, and then things started progressing, and then things just took off. So we've made up that entire ground that we missed for about 4 or 5 month period to end more or less the same as 2019, which is pretty incredible. But the big change of the median price going up 8.5%, that's actually not too surprising considering interest rates are remaining low, so the affordability index is still there.
Absolutely.
So
and then the low inventory driving the prices up.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. And then looking at the year-end review for the luxury 1 million plus market, so we had a total of 748 units sold. That was up by 43.02%. And then the median price is $1,418,630, which is up by 5.08%.
Right. Again, starting with the units sold, the supply is getting pretty shallow up there, not just in the plus 1 million market, but I bet you if we break that down in the plus 2 million, plus 3 million, plus 5 million, etc., you're going to see a similar story as you progress all the way up the scale. And so 43% increase in sales is incredible. We're continuing to see people from California move in. We're continuing to see people that are in town that are moving up, that are saying, listen, I have a $1 million home, I'll buy a $2 million home, or their stock portfolios are doing extremely well, so they're jumping into the market. So a lot of those factors are playing out to reflect that increase. As far as the price increase at 5%, again, overall that's 5%. What it really means is the second half of the year is higher than 5% because the first half of the year was probably lower than 5%.
Right,
So that's what you're doing
absolutely.
there.
Fantastic. So now we're going to be talking about the move-up market and the luxury market, Randy. So first of all, let's define these two markets. What are the move-up markets and what are the luxury markets for you?
Sure. So last time we did the segment, we spoke about really the $1 million market as our luxury market. But there's a move-up market that is not the median price. The median price is in the mid 300s now.
Right.
So we're defining, let's call it the move-up market, maybe the 500 to a million. You could probably move those numbers up and down the scale, but for the purposes of trying to understand what's going on in that market, we're going to define it for our purposes between $500,000 and $1 million.
Okay.
And then the luxury market for Las Vegas we'll define as a 1 million plus market.
Fantastic.
So that's how we'll probably split the two.
Absolutely. And then as we look at these numbers, we want to talk about how differently these two markets, behave, right? So let's look at these numbers right now.
So, one thing to note maybe is important is kind of just taking a step back and before we look at the statistics, what is the difference between overall the category of the $1 million buyer versus the $500,000 to $1 million buyer? What you're going to find is that in the $1 million buyer, I would call those high net worth individuals and ultra high net worth individuals, which would be considered those that have net worths of even 30 million and above. And those two would be different categories. But if you lump them all together, these folks typically aren't as sensitive to the income that they're making. They're not as sensitive to payment. In fact, many of these are cash buyers.
Right.
What you're going to find is a lot of it is an emotion. How do they feel about where their financial status is today in reality, and what is their perception for the future? Well, starting with what they feel like today, the stock market, as we're filming this, is over 30,000,
Yes.
all-time record high for Dow Jones, all-time high for S&P 500. So people are pretty wealthy on paper. In addition to that, their real estate, as we just described, is doing well, and the forecast is relatively healthy. But to even further maybe add fuel to that, people are motivated to live in a place that they want to live in more. They're motivated to have a second home because during this environment, they can't rely on just going and jumping from hotel to hotel. They're not really interested in going to resorts in that manner. So they're investing more into their property.
Absolutely.
So the move-up market, on the other hand, is kind of a mixed bag. You have people that are living well below their means, and they're just comfortable because in Las Vegas, a $500,000 to $1 million home is still a very substantial home depending on where you're from.
Absolutely.
On the other hand, you have people that are maximizing their purchase, meaning they're trying to get in as much home as they can, and that's defined by payment. Well, interest rates are low, so they have a little more leverage nowadays to do that. So that's where you're kind of seeing there's more sensitivity to the local economy and all of that. So it'll be interesting to see in a minute here when you cite the statistics if that reflects.
Absolutely. So looking at the numbers, for the Las Vegas move-up market, a total of 471 units were sold in December, up 77.74%. Median price was $600,000, and percent difference from last year was only 2.13%. Looking at the luxury 1 million plus market, total units sold in December, 119 units, up 116.36%, median price 1.57, and up by 15.61%. Randy, talk to us about this obviously this huge 77% increase in the number of units sold here in the move-up market.
Yeah, so for the move-up market, not as hot percentage-wise in terms of an increase, and that makes sense because you're talking about a physical body of a bigger sample size, right? Your 471 sold versus 119 above a million. So the 77% percentage difference is not a huge surprise. What kind of is a little bit of a head scratcher to me is when the prices have moved up month of 2020 over the previous year at 77%, but the median price has only climbed 2.1%. You'd think maybe there's a little bit more of a lift that we would expect there. And so this is kind of one that, I'm not 100% sure why this is happening, but here's what we do know. again, if we go back to what we just said earlier, a lot of the people that are buying in this are people that are leveraging their purchase. They are, maybe dual income households. They have debt because they're living a lifestyle that is at the level of their means, and maybe sometimes even a little bit beyond their means. And with the casino and the local economy that's been sluggish, a lot of the folks that are kind of working on the strip, maybe they have a combined income of 100,000 or so, but they're very reliant on tips. They're very reliant on tourism.
Absolutely.
Those folks are going to be a lot more effective. And you probably know something about that. You have a lot of cohorts that are in that space.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, you're exactly right. And right now it's only 25%, occupancy. So there's only 4 people per table at restaurants or nightclub tables, and absolutely tips are hugely affected. And that's how people make a living here in the hospitality industry.
Right. So the increase in sales could be a result of people needing to sell because they're not in a position where they can really hold on to that home, but they can't afford to wait out for top dollar.
Right.
So maybe that has something to do with it, but I think we'll be curious to see how the year-end numbers work out, and maybe the next 90 days. So maybe we come back to this conversation in the future and see if it changes.
I'd love that. So now, Randy, looking at the units available as of yesterday. So in the move-up market, we have 777 units available. Median price is at $669,995. In the luxury market, 1 million plus, we have availability of 382 units, and median price at 1,892,500.
Yeah, I guess just from a quick flyover, you're looking at about 2-to-1 ratio of available units between $500,000 and $1 million. Against the $1 million plus, but the median price between the two categories almost triple in the 1 million plus range. That's not totally surprising, Las Vegas, if you roll the tape back maybe 10 years or so, $1 million was quite a property here.
Absolutely.
But nowadays, what we're finding is that market has expanded quite a bit. So the median price is almost double $1 million over the $1 million mark. So that, I think you're going to continue to see that number grow, especially as people come in from more from California, where they're used to higher end properties, and frankly, people are just doing better.
Absolutely, absolutely. And personally, I've had so many, showings for all these Californians that are moving here, whether they're NorCal, SoCal, and obviously people could work remotely from home. They don't have to be in California, so they're looking for more affordable luxury, affordable place to live, more space. Versus a city life. They want more space out here with a big backyard. So we're seeing a lot of that, and it'll be really interesting to see how that progresses more and more in the next couple months.
So thank you for joining us today. That was a very exciting dialogue about the update for 2020 December and the year end. I can't wait to see what's ahead. So please like, comment, subscribe to our YouTube channel. See y'all next time.